Hi, welcome to Delmarva Tech. In this video, we're going to talk about numbers and basic math in MicroPython. We've talked a little bit about the shell previously, but another use of the shell is that we can test out snippets of code down there to see if they are doing what we think they should do or whatever. And we're going to use that today to talk about different types of numbers and everything. So in MicroPython and a lot of other computer languages, there's two basic types of numbers. You have integers, which are whole numbers, 1, 100, a million, but they don't have anything after the decimal point. And then we have something called floating point numbers, and they're numbers that have something after the decimal point. So that's kind of the numbers we're used to, but integers have a place in coding as well. So sometimes some languages require you to choose which type of number you're using in a certain place, but Python does a pretty good job of letting you put a number in and it'll pick what type of number it is. So a lot of times we don't have to worry about that. But like I said, we can look at numbers down here. We can just say like A equals 2.5, and then we got that. And you can find out what type of number Python thinks it is by doing type and then put your variable that you just did inside of it. And it tells us it is a float. So if we did A equals 2, and then we did type of A, now it's an int. One thing is you can make this bigger. So I'm going to make this bigger. You can kind of hard to find out where it is, but you want to get to double arrows and then you can pick this up. So we'll move this up because we're not going to do any programming, making any programs up here today. We're going to just be working in the class down here. Another thing you can do if you want to clear what you've done in here, you can right click and clear. So we can do that. So that's your two basic types of numbers that you work with in MicroPython. So we can move on to the math thing. So like basic math is sort of like what you do in math class and when you were in school. So you can say 1 plus 1, and then if you just hit enter right now, it'll do the actual calculation and return 2. So we can do that. And then minus is the same thing, 2 minus 1, enter. And like I said, you can do floating point as well, 2.5 minus 1.25. And it'll tell you that the result is 1.25. So plus and minus is about the same. Multiplication works exactly the same, but instead of using the X or the time sign that we're used to, we use the asterisk key. So if we wanted to say 2 times 2, and then we get to 4. So the asterisk key is the thing. And the divide key is the forward slash. So if we got 10 divided by 2, and it's going to be 5.0. If you notice, when we were doing multiplication and the addition, when were both whole numbers, it gave you back a whole number. When we were doing subtraction with floating numbers, it gave you back a float. Same thing here, we did that. But we had whole numbers here, but because we're doing a division, there's a good chance that you're not going to come up with a integer when you do division. So the MicroPython just figures, oh, we probably ought to make that into a floating point when we do the division. So we can change that. So we could say, well, let's do 10 divided by 3. And now you're going to get a 3.3333. So we can, there's a way that you can force it to do integer division. So you could say 10 and then use double slashes and 10 divided by 3. And what this does is it just drops everything after the decimal place. It doesn't round it, and we'll show that in a second. So 3.33. But let's say, I don't know how to, let's see, 20 divided by 3 is 6. But if we did 20 just single divided by 3, it would actually be 666. So it doesn't round it. It just takes off the whatever's after the decimal place. So that's the way the division. This is called integer division or floor division sometimes in MicroPython. And we'll go ahead and clear our screen again. So that's basically what we do. Sometimes some of the higher maths you have to, like doing square root or tangents and cotangents, you have to use different, it's not, you have to use a library or write it out a little bit differently. But we can square a number. So we could go up and say 2, well, no, let's do 3. And then if you do double asterisk, that means you want to square it, and or to the power. So you want 3 to the power of 2, which was b squared, and then you get 9. And of course, you could do 3 to the power of 3. That's 9 times 9 times 9, and you get 27. So you can do the power of where you're doing a square or a cube or whatever, whatever number you want. So one of the things that we were talking about in Lori's video doing binary math. So we can do binary math is base 2. So we can do 2, and we can go to the power of 4, which was how many LEDs we were using. And we can count up to 16 with 4 digits or 4 LEDs or whatever you have. You'll find out in another video that a lot of times we use other types of numbers. So binary numbers. So 2 to the power of 8 is 8-bit number, and an 8-bit number can hold 256 different numbers. We start at 0, so it's 0 to 255, and then when you get the next number, it's going to 255, it's going to roll over back to 0. You'll find out that a lot of things in programming start at 0. We're so used to starting at 1, but it starts at 0. So that's another thing we can do. And another one that you'll do, we'll find out when we talk about fading an LED, is you can have 2 to the power of 16, which is a 16-digit binary number, which is another common thing in programming. And you can get up to 65,536, or 0 to 65,535. And you'll see that come up quite often too. So the binary numbers, a lot of times you'll see these odd numbers. It's because it's how many you can count with binary numbers of a certain length. So that comes up sometimes. All right, so we're going to move on. Now we're going to talk about something that might be a little different than what you're talking and what you're used to if you haven't been doing programming for We've talked about how we can assign a variable a name, give a variable a name, and we can assign a number to it. So with this here, it's going to save this value of a until we change it or close the shell. So we're going to say a is equal to 3. Now we can do a is equal to a plus 1. So that doesn't look like any math from school that we've done, but in computers, this is a very common thing to see. What it really means is the value that used to be an A, which was 3 in this line, we're going to take that value, we're going to add 1 to it, and we're going to assign, a lot of times this equal sign is called the assign operator. We're going to assign the new value back to A. So with that in mind, you had A was equal to 3. This is the same thing as saying A is equal to 3 plus 1. So now when we do it, now we didn't add it, but we can put our print A, and you'll see that A is now equal to 4. So that's a little bit hard to get your mind around, but it's just the way that it works in math. And we can do the same thing. We can say A equals 2 and hit enter. A equals, not A, we can say B equals 3, enter. So now we've stored those two numbers in variables. Now we can say that uh, uh, we don't have to print it out or anything. We can just say A times B, and it's going to do the calculation. So if you do it in your head, it's 2 times 3. So we should get 6, and that's what we get. So a lot of times you'll see this come up here where you just adding a number to itself. So this happens so much that we actually have a shorthand that if all you're doing is adding a number to itself, so to a variable, that we can say A and then use the plus and the equal sign and then say 2. Now, if you remember, we had A up here was equal to 2 was the last thing we did because it replaced whatever this up above it was. So now we're saying A is 2, and now we're plus equals. We should be able to add 2 to it, and then we should be able to say, oops, print A, and it'll come up 2 plus 2 is 4. You can do the same thing with multiplication, subtraction, and division. We'll just do a multiplication just to show that it works. So we can say, now we can say A times equals, and let's see, what do we want to multiply A by? It's 4 now, so let's 4/8 is 32. So 4 times 8, and we can do that, and then print A again, and we see that it's 32. Anyhow, a lot of things are similar to basic math in school, and but dealing with variables, you are assigning a number back to a variable. So there's ways of doing it a little bit different. That's enough for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day and are learning from our lessons. Bye.